The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, 90 days of boxing, day number 90, the final day of the grand finale. And what better way to close it out than with one of my best friends, not just in boxing, but in the world, and one of the best minds in the business, the Dundada of boxing himself, Sean Zittel. What's good, man?
What's going on, man? You have had world champions on this 90 Days Alive, legendary trainers, but you haven't, like you said, you're finishing very strong here, Brendan. You know, I don't know what you're more proud of. You're back and forth with world champions like Raymond Ford or number one contenders like Richardson Hitchens, where you show you got some of the biggest balls in the game and you ask that real, and then you stand on it, and then you hug and have more respect between each other than ever. Like, that's all cool and all, but now you got your man, you got your boy, live from Brooklyn, BK, stand up. So.
You're in your natural habitat because you know I know you grew up in Vegas, but you're Bensonhurst, Brooklyn roots, So yeah,
I'm in Marcy right now.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's nice.
Okay. Well, we got Sean Zittel here, guys. So make sure you guys get your questions in here for him. We're gonna have him for
bring it. Come on
a
now.
amount of time. Now look. Sean, before we even get to the Ryan Garcia and the Benavidez and all that stuff, I'm going to ask you, you started your new channel. So the first question I wanted to ask you was like, what could people expect from the new Sean Zittel channel?
Well, I just, like I said on Sean's, like I want to walk a perfect line. You're starting to have to walk it too now as you have your interactions with Raymond Ford and Richardson Hitchens. Like, I want to be honest, but I don't want to say things that I wouldn't actually say if the fighter was in front of me. And so, that's two different ways of talking than me and you in the living room sometimes spouting off and having fun and, having fun with it. And then it's different if they were really in front of us. We would have to not just clean it up because, the guy's in front of us and he might do this and do that, but because a human being's in front of you now. And, it humanizes whatever criticism you might have or whatever. And, so I want to be able to be honest with my critiques, but at a point where, again, it's something I would actually be comfortable saying in front of them. So, keep getting the interviews in the field and be honest about who I think is going to win the fight and why and what fights need to happen. But I want to do it at the same energy I would keep with them in person. And so... And I want to play a lot of video games and stream Undisputed and sometimes talk about the 49ers and the NFL. I just kind of want to show everyone, what I'm into, what my passions are.
You want to show them a lot of what I see behind the scenes because, now that, it's different when you have your own channel. You could you have the reins to do whatever you want. So it's going to be great to see how it all develops.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to trailblaze, Brendan. I'm going to be, one of the first true journalists covering the Super Bowl, covering fights in person. Now, sometimes ringside. I don't know if I'm always going to be ringside, but also beating the shit out of people on Undisputed, streaming some video games, talking, and I guess merging the intimacy and the connection with the audience that a lot of these influencers have. But with the substance of I'm a real grown man with a family. I have a real job. I really cover sports. I don't just, talk on YouTube. And just kind of like merging that connection that these influencers get with their audience and the way they get comfortable being themselves and merging that with the more traditional. I went to media school and I really do some journalism.
You got a degree from UNLV and all that.
So. Right. So. Okay. Merging the new school with the old school.
No, for sure. And I think you've done a pretty good job of that. Sean, a lot of people, this may be their first time watching us live because, we've done lives here and there sporadically over the years. But I guess I kind of want to, before we get into the boxing, kind of just so people know, paint the picture of like, I guess, our friendship and relationship in boxing because they may see us at events or they may hear me mention you in lives. What's your take? Like, what would you say was our genesis? Me and you.
Well, I was fortunate that you liked my work. Like you reached out to me when I was with the Boxing Voice and really encouraged me and told me you thought I was really good.
Yeah.
And then we hung out and I had you come over the house through our mutual friend Rafael Calvo. Shout out to Rafael.
Shout out to Raph.
And I remember I told you we kicked it that weekend. It wasn't the weekend of Ward and Kovalev too. It was
Broner Granados was the first fight I watched at your house.
Broner Granados, was that 2016 or early 2017?
February 2017, so early 2017.
Okay, so you came over, and I immediately was impressed by your knowledge and your passion in boxing and all that, but also that you were just really funny. And we talk politics, and we're dying about certain things you said.
Yeah, we can't say them here, but yeah.
And I remember telling you that first time we finished kicking it for a few days, and I told you, man, I feel like I've known you longer than just a weekend. I felt like we became old friends quickly. It was weird, you know what I mean? And we're on the same wavelength with a lot of our morals and values and how we grew up, and just had the same kind of sense of humor. And that I just you were kind enough to reach out to me and think I was good at what I was doing in my interviews with the Boxing Voice. And then I just thought you were dope. We hung out and laughed about life and boxing, and both loved boxing. And you were the guy who told me about Inoue. And
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I remember you told me this guy could be Chocolatito, and I'm like, here you go, like with this kind of boxing hipster underground, like, no, I know this underground rapper who's way better than this trash, than Jay-Z and
Pharoah Monch, like Pharoah Monch.
Pharoah Monch is better than Jay-Z. It's just he doesn't have like 12 albums, and but so you show me Inoue, and I go, holy shit, he would beat Roman Gonzalez. This guy is amazing, and now I'm known as like the ultimate Inoue hater. But
that's crazy how that works, right? Like, you're known as the Inoue hater and whatnot.
Yeah,
but it's been fruitful. It's been like every time I've came to Vegas and we talked boxing, I feel like I've learned something, or I've watched a fight I haven't heard of before. And I feel like over the years, like especially these last 3 years, going to Vegas so much, I've sharpened up a lot just being around you. Well,
yeah, you have the rawness and the realness that is special, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, you gotta not talking to you gotta, but I'm saying it's gotta come at a level where, would you say that if they were in front of you, and it's and I think that's the line you're getting getting a little closer to, but we never want to sanitize you to where you're not the uncut and raw BT.
Correct.
And then conversely, you telling it like it is. I remember, I used to tell you in 2020, 2021, and I'm on Fight Hype, getting all these great, big interviews, getting, millions of views. But I remember I joke with you, I'm like, you're the man, like not me, because I'm sometimes playing the game. I'm not always asking that question that might be uncomfortable, and that's all you want to do. And so I would always commend you as, but you're the one staying more true to the artistic side of, being a media guy. And I just remember telling you that while maybe you were looking up at me getting all these big interviews in the field, I was looking up to you for your honesty, whether you wound up being right about the fight or wrong. And I'll say right now, you would pick a lot more fights right. I've told you this in the past, but you identify with the underdog.
Yeah.
And I remind you that Cat Williams clip when he's like, you what do you say? You identify with losers. It's unlike you. That's how I feel about you sometimes over the years.
Sometimes, because sometimes I do know better, but I'm like, nah, man, F that. That's boring.
You identify with the guy that slept on, that didn't get pushed, that's counted out. And so sometimes you would pick a guy off of that when he wasn't going to win. But I always respected the heart that came.
Yeah. Or it's like, I guess part of that might be from growing up in school, you're the short guy in school, so everyone's always overlooking you. So you want to see the guys that get overlooked, do well. So I guess it is what it is.
But that's not you no more. You are not destined to be slept on forever.
No. And like I said, Sean, as of your first live, it's the beginning of a new era in boxing. It's the Zittel True School era, where we bring the raw and ruggedness of the hardcore boxing fans, but still get in the field and still give you guys that world-class content. So I'm looking forward to it, and I know you're gonna kill it in New York this weekend with Ryan and Haney.
Yeah. Man, it's are we talking about that yet? Or
we are. Before we get to that, Sean, I'm gonna address some comments because we got people chiming in. People that are excited. We got
$100 super chat from Too Short.
All right, that's Pops actually. So Pops says, "Here's to you, 90 Days of Boxing, finishing off with one of the legends, Sean Zittel. Give him a follow on both of his channels, Vegas Sports Today and Sean Zittel." Thank you, Pops.
Thanks,
Pops. Pop showing that love. But yeah, we got Fast Car Eddie in the building. He says 90 days. Yes, sir. Caleb says we're here. I'm gonna go for a run. I watched replay. Go shout out to you, Caleb. Manuel Gonzalez says 2 legends, and C. Miller also says that we're legends. So there you go. We're getting the love from the people. When you get love from the people, Sean, that's when you know it's real. Now, one of my longtime viewers, Sean, he wants me to. I used to have this old clip I used to play in the chat, like when I would get a super chat. I don't do it no more, but like he knows. I used to have the unofficial sponsors of True School Sports. Do you know the unofficial sponsors, Sean? I
used to hear some of the Stone Cold.
No, not Stone Cold. Jarrell Miller's going to tell you who our unofficial sponsors are. So, Big Baby, tell them who the sponsors of True School Sports are.
Vienna sausage, cinnamon buns, Wonder Bread, Kool-Aid with no motherfucking sugar.
You got a lot of good sponsors.
A lot of good sponsors, right? The dough's just rolling in over and over again. So, shout out to everybody who's rocking with us. We got Sean Zittel here, the Dundada of Boxing Media. As I've always called you that. Sean, you're in Brooklyn right now.
Yeah.
Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, big fight for the sport of boxing. What was the vibe you got from the press conference today? Because there's a lot of insanity.
So Devin Haney, he's turning this into what he's painting Ryan. Ryan's the antagonist because he's what happens when talent doesn't work hard. And he's about to find out what happens when he does meet talent that works hard. Ryan's the antagonist because he's not disciplined. Ryan's the antagonist because he's preaching religion out of one side of his mouth and being vulgar out of the other side.
He's being double-minded.
Yes. And Devin's trying to explain to us that I am single-track minded. And he keeps bringing up kids too. This is what happens when you're disciplined and single-track minded. And when you really try to pursue a relationship with the creator, with God, but although, people would debate that as well about skipping Ramadan and all that.
Yeah.
But his point would be, I'm not every other word out of my mouth always saying, God, 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 Jesus, Jesus, but I'm adhering more truly through my discipline to my craft, to those principles. And that's what Devin's on. Devin isn't even backing away from the fact that Ryan's messed up heading into this fight. He said as much at the final presser. His whole point that he wants us to grasp is so Devin's point is, it's my show. All the flash and all the circus that has sold this fight goes out the window Saturday. And the real man of the show, the real point of this fight is me and my discipline and my ascension towards becoming the best fighter in boxing. Saturday night, when it comes, the bell rings. It's the end of the Ryan Garcia antics and, scattershot brain, talking about the Illuminati and talking about Hollywood and rubbing elbows with celebrities and going back and forth with them and all that. Saturday night, it's about substance. And I'm gonna be the one who's the man of substance Saturday night. So that's what Devin Haney's on. And then on the Ryan Garcia side, hey, if he ices Devin Haney early with a left hook, man, I will eat my words and give the young man credit. Like, it's not about taking credit away from Ryan, but I see a young man in pain, Brendan. Like, I see a guy whose inner turmoil is playing out before the whole world.
It's like a tormented soul almost. Like he's just
man.
He's conflicted. That's the word, conflicted.
And everyone has fast-tracked him to this fight when clearly it's not his best interest at heart, really, from everyone around him. I don't even want to go over each and every one of them, but I just see a kid in pain, man. And I see a sadness and a chaos in his eyes. They say the eyes are the window to the soul.
Yeah. And
it's like, should this, I told, like, at the airport, I felt kind of bad. I'm like, well, at one side, you knew this from before the fight. Actually, before this fight was ever signed last year, I told you, Ryan should never take this fight because he has no chance of winning it realistically. You know what I mean? Like, he needed to be rebuilt through multiple Oscar Duarte type opponents and then fight someone like Rolly or Hitchens for a vacant belt or a belt here and then get back to that elite level. He rushed into the Tank fight and he rushed into the Devin Haney fight just like he rushed into the Tank fight. Like, there was no lesson learned there. he quickly went to the Tank fight because the $25 million. And it's so odd that it sounds absurd to try to tell someone like Ryan this, but hey, bro, getting effed out of money early in your career and having to fight tough fights is kind of part of the development cycle. Oscar had to go through it. You know, Oscar got fucked out of a lot of money in the Gennaro.
And it all pays off. It all
pays off, right? And skipping that process, even though you get the money that you were looking for, it comes at a price because you're a fighter. It's not all about money. You wouldn't have got this far without all that pride and fire in your stomach. So even though you went away with 25 million, like he had to feel a depression after losing to Tank, and then he knocks out Duarte and he jumps right into the Devin Haney fight without really building himself back to the elite level, you know. And you know, again, man, if he pulls it off, but it's just been hard to watch him at times, man. It really has. From his mannerisms and even the facial expressions and just the whole energy he's given off, it's like this kid doesn't feel like he's in the right mental state to be fighting a Devin Haney right now, you know,
or anybody at the elite level. I mean, that's why, you know, I've been very vocal. You know, this, Sean. You know, Devin should probably win if nothing crazy happens, but I think this fight's gonna have a weird ending. You know, I think it's gonna end by disqualification. I think the Ryan's frantic ways about him and all the up and down behavior, it's going to end with him checking out in a different way this time, rather than, you know, quitting or anything like that. You know, he'll quit in a different way. He'll look for a way out by elbows or some sort of illegal tactics.
Did you hear his final quote at the presser?
I don't remember. What did he say?
I'm going to break his neck.
That's what he said?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
And it's just, you know, it's just interesting. I understand why people think it, but everyone just keeps thinking it's some kind of act or promotion. And no, man, when you see the kind of erratic 0 to 100, like today, you know, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus. Then into put my dick in your mouth.
Yeah.
And then when he was going back and forth with the guy in the crowd, if you contrast it to when Terrence got into it with Spence's crowd, right? Terrence controlled it and slowly simmered and built until he like gave a death stare into the audience and was, you know, put the light on that bitch since he wants fucking attention. And then just like all of a sudden Errol Spence became a background figure.
Yeah.
And Crawford owned the moment and the vibe and singled him out. And with Ryan, 0 to 100 and then back down and then back up and then back down. And it's not that controlled aggression of a Terrence Crawford who's peaking right before fight night, and he's just letting out a little bit of air out of the balloon, just giving you a taste of what he's on heading into Saturday. Ryan's been letting that air out of the balloon and run everywhere else with it in the last 2 months, and so he told the people in the crowd he went from like your mom was in my DMs, that's right, ha 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 ha, like trying to make a joke out of it, to no, fuck you. Don't talk about my fucking mom. I'll go in there and fuck you up. And then to smiling and then being the nice Victorville kid. So, you know, he doesn't know where he's going. And, you know, in this game, you got to have your problem solving brain functioning and ready to adjust and problem solve and figure
you gotta be in the millisecond. You gotta be like so zoned in. It's not even being within the moment. You gotta be within the moment. Like it's that level of focus you need.
So, and I would just want to stress to like Ryan Garcia's supporters out there, like this is not hate. Like it's some heavy stuff to talk about another man's mental state. And you'll never hear me call him crazy for talking about pedophilia and the Illuminati and Hollywood. Fair game to me. Like it's not that. It's everything, bro. It's the chaotic energy, the erratic stuff, literally. The body language and the everything about him right now is just off. So it's not hate. It's me trying to be honest and observant and telling people, like, I'm concerned about this kid coming into Saturday night. I think what Brendan's talk about is in play. How could it not be in play when he keeps saying, I'll bite both ears, I'll break both shoulders if he holds me? And then his last quote at the presser is, I'm going to break his neck. And I guess, yeah, man, I feel for him right now.
What do you think about this new narrative? Like, I've heard Bernard Hopkins talk about it, and I think even Ryan. They're saying that this is all the art of war. Appear weak when you're really strong.
You know, I think if Bernard was looking across the ring from Ryan as an opponent, he'd be giving us all the game about how fucked up he's behaving. Like, you know what I mean? He'd be breaking it down better than I could right now.
Yeah.
Just, and that's Bernard, the promoter, talking. And Bernard's like my favorite fighter of all time. But I don't feel like Bernard's really speaking honestly. I feel like it's all promoter talk. And I feel like there's a chance that, Bernard and Oscar are vindictively allowing this potential beatdown to go through Saturday night because Ryan, in their eyes, backdoored them to the PBC through Lupe Valencia to make the Tank fight.
That's right.
And at around that time, and it turned out to be Showtime's last year, in this stiff competition in business, they may have thought they're on their last legs. They probably knew the rumors. Hey, this is their last year with Showtime. Don't give them a big leg up by giving them this $1 million pay-per-view fight. We're trying to, wait for them to go out of business so we could take back over. They get the Lupe Valencia connection and it makes Tank a bigger superstar than ever. Their kid accepts every negotiation brought the other team's way, doesn't resist any of the weight stuff, gets knocked out. And I feel like, part of this may be a little bit of payback for Ryan, feeding him to Haney.
And that's why they didn't show up to the press conference. He was there by himself because it was kind of like, okay, well, you made your bed, you lie in it. It's your fault. Like you want to back over.
And on the surface, Ryan reaches out to hug Bernard at the presser. Hey, are we good? Are we good? But I don't know. You almost feel from Bernard's like, about what? There was never anything wrong. Like bullshit. Like you were mad at the kid and, rightfully so for some of your reasons. And he's right. Two sides to every story, from Ryan's side. Why are you guys trying to stand? Why do I got a backdoor to Lupe Valencia? Why not just encourage me to make this life-changing $25 million? And then from their side, because you haven't trusted the process at all. You've pulled out of fights. You haven't let us match make you to where you can actually win this fight. You're accepting every demand from them to lessen your chance of winning it. It's happening on their platform. And, there was two sides to that story. And I love Bernard and Oscar, but I don't feel like they're being honest about how they really feel about Ryan, how he is, and what his chances are heading into this fight.
For sure, man. And, Golden Boy doesn't have a big pool of stars these days. So he's the guy that's moving the needle the most as far as money's concerned. If Ryan gets beat up the way people think he's going to get beat up against Devin, what do you feel is the next step, if there is any, for him in boxing?
I don't know. And, if it goes down like that, it's a shame because weren't you with me when we were watching All Access?
You were. Yeah, we were. Yeah, you did. Yeah, we were on the couch at your house, and you were like, man, this is sad.
I called all this. I saw he was walking into the movie theater with 5 friends for All Access for Tank and Ryan, right? And remember I said, there's a sadness to this young man. This is sad. He looks like James Dean. Like, he sometimes wears the leather jacket, got the slick back. He's like boxing's James Dean. If this kid would have moved correctly and been moved correctly and stayed with Reynoso, he could have been putting all of them to shame at the box office. You know what I mean? He was always going to have a stiff upper body, right?
Yeah.
But he has real talent with his speed, height, and power. And he's become an underachiever, right?
A chronic underachiever.
He has, and that's not a full diss. That's saying you have a lot of natural gifts and talent. So I don't know, man. I feel like Sunday morning could be a very rough morning for Ryan Garcia, and my compassion goes out to him. And if that's the case, I certainly won't be sharing memes kicking him when he's down and everything. I don't think he's going to win the fight, and if he doesn't, I hope the best for him afterwards. People like him engaging with people like me helps me feed my family. So correct. I'm appreciative of him. But you were on my couch last year when I was watching with my wife, and I even said I could see substances coming into this kid's life because I used to have that problem as a young man in the early 2010s. You know what I mean? So I can sense it in someone else. So yeah, man, it's some true Hollywood story stuff starting to unfold, unfortunately.
Yeah, hopefully
he lands a left hook and knocks Devin out, And then
all of a sudden, he's the next big
assholes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll be clipping this and putting it on his Twitter if that happens. But far as Devin, right? If Devin does what he's supposed to do, Sean, and wins as expected, how far do you think he is from like a Teofimo or a Subriel Matias fight? Because obviously those fights have been discussed a lot in the boxing community.
Well, other than those guys, I think him and Tank after Saturday night becomes the new Crawford Spence. Like all the way down from it being the most requested fight in America to it being hard to make, and Devin, like Crawford, not wanting to acquiesce to PBC because he's the more accomplished fighter. He's won more titles and more, Devin's, Tank's technically a 3-division champ to Devin's 2, but we all know, Devin is a 5-time champion and Tank's really like a 1 or 2-time champion.
Yeah.
And again, but like Crawford, you're not the draw that Spence is. You're not the draw that Tank is. And you got to get down or lay down with PBC, with the big, with the big bank takes little bank. And, they don't seem to want to fully get down like that. We'll see it. I think they'll fight at some point. Anyways, before we get to the other 140-pounders, I just think Sunday morning, Spence or Crawford, Devin and Tank becomes the new Crawford Spence. And all the way down to us having to talk about it for years and it taking some time to be done. Hopefully not as much time as
it's already taken a lot of years.
It has. So, but we're talking about it when they're younger. So if it takes as long as Crawford Spence, they still might actually fight both in their prime.
I hear you.
Let's be optimists here. So with the other 140-pounders, I favor Devin over all of them. Cruz, they're all tough fights, but Matias is really good and all, but his feet will have a problem catching up to Devin, and he's already been beaten by Petros and Anian, so he can be beaten. If he could be beat by Petros and Anian, even if it was an off night, and even if he's improved as a champion, he could be beat by Devin Haney. And then Teofimo, as good as he is, we've seen what he does against guys that move on the outside. Sandor Martin, Jermaine Ortiz, Kambosos when he used his legs in and out, and even Masahiro Nakatani just by being long. Not being a mover, but just by forcing you to fight on the outside.
Just using his frame.
Right, just using his frame. So we know that Teo's much better against guys that come to him as opposed to going after them, because I've said it plenty of times, Floyd Mayweather, even when he would go the master of the shoulder roll, when it was time to cut distance against Zab Judah or Conor McGregor, pick the gloves up, change the stance to close the distance. Teo still tries to close distance with his lead hand low. And until he finds a way to make that adjustment, he's not beating Devin either, in my opinion. So then that leaves, so he beat, there you go. And Cruz, as good as Cruz is, and he's not easy for anybody, that length of Devin and the educated feet of Devin might not be the most exciting, that people want to see, but he can outpoint Isaac Cruz over 12 rounds. So I think, here's the problem, though, BT, is like, I don't know if he could stay at 140 that much longer. You heard him today. He sounded weaker than I thought he would, in his voice.
Yeah, real lethargic.
And I guess it's because 5 pounds is a lot, but it's also not. And he's that's a problem for the Tank fight, and is that, talking to my guys downstairs that work with Sean, shout out to DDA and Dane.
Dane podcast.
Dane making a great point, right? Porterway podcast in the house. Dane made a great point. Like, Dane was just being realistic about the business while we're talking boxing. And Dane loves boxing, but he also was keeping it real about the business. Like, yo, this fight, he was looking at the tickets for Saturday, right? Mm-hmm. He's like, if it's in dark blue, that means they still got
seats.
Still got a lot of seats in that section, right? He's like, yo, this whole shit is blue. Right? Like, this whole arena is blue. Meaning, if this fight doesn't sell well, that's going to hurt Devin at the negotiation with Tank, right? And if Devin, and he also made a great point, Dane, that if he goes to 147, that's probably curtains for the fight. Like, Tank ain't going up to 47. He doesn't even want to go up to 40. Really?
Yeah.
From indications, from, not out of his mouth, but from indications. So, yeah, so the problem is,
I'm letting you cook right now, man. I'm letting you cook.
He might have to go to 47 sooner than we want.
Yeah.
Sooner than maybe he wants, because he did sound a little, weak from getting down to 140. And we know, Brendan, 140 is a pit stop weight class.
Yeah, it's not a glamour division. It's not one of the original 8.
Right. It's not one of the original 8. And, it's not really your body his body gets to exhale, it looks like, for 1 or 2 fights. And then it's like, so when are we going to 47? You know what I mean? And he runs into an issue there because, look, I think Devin's going to get to the top pound for pound spot. But I said on my stream earlier, Floyd Mayweather didn't fight Winky Wright at 54. Floyd Mayweather didn't fight Paul Williams at 47. In being the pound for pound king, sometimes you got to know who not to fuck with. And, and Bill, if you're listening, please don't kill me and put me in a headlock. I'm just trying to talk that real. They know, don't take the Ennis fight at 47. Go and get that WBC strap against Barrios. You could beat the Stanionis is tough. You could beat Stanionis if you grow into the weight and you could beat these boys at 47. But that boy from Philly,
yes,
he moves up. Wait till he moves up. So, and no matter how bad you are, there's all you even Floyd,
there's always someone bigger and badder than you.
He didn't take that Paul Williams fight.
That's right.
Yeah,
he didn't fight Winky, right? He didn't fight Margarito.
He would have beat Margarito.
Maybe he would have, but he didn't take it. He didn't.
Hey, no, fuck Margarito. We're not putting him on that Paul Williams Winky Wright, bro. No. We fought Baldomir for $1 extra, $8,001, and Baldomir was lineal. He was the champion. Antonio Margarito. See, I'm on my Floyd. Floyd Mayweather. Margarito was put the plaster in his gloves, and he lost.
But he did have. Look, there was.
He wasn't the boogeyman. Paul Williams is the boogeyman.
But Sean, there was that one little sit down where Margarito pressed him, and then Floyd shook his hand, and he's like, I'm not ducking and dodging to nobody. I'm just making smart, sound business decisions that are move me up levels. So it's like
that's when he called Al Heyman and said, "Get Paul Williams on him."
Yeah,
get the 6'2" Paul, get him on him. And then what happened?
Handle my light work.
And then no, but
he tried to do the same thing with Spence and Thurman later on.
I just passed the Antonio Margarito buck to Paul. I give it to the guy who deserves it. No, not Antonio. Paul was yeah.
I got you. Shout out to my man Jairo. He says 12 world title defenses. Why did Salvador Sanchez never fight is Julio Pedrosa
on the wrong side of the street? Salvador Sanchez was making that big first $1 million featherweight, Jairo. We're not talking.
He's been on this whole trip about is Julio Pedrosa the last 3 weeks. I don't know why.
We were moving up for Arguello, and then the car crash happened.
That's what I'm saying. That Arguello fight was going to be the mega fight.
Chavez was going to get whooped at 130 for the WBC.
Yeah,
Julio Pedrosa.
But Sean, by the way, shout out to everybody here. We got 101 people here, so smash that like button and get your comments in for Sean. We got him here. Sean, I know one of the hot button topics in boxing right now is obviously Canelo and Benavidez, and you have one of the best vantage points to that because you've been covering David Benavidez since he was a prospect.
Right.
So what kind of insight could you give into where we're at now presently with Canelo and Benavidez?
If they were fighting in 2 weeks, Benavidez would beat him, but they're not. Benavidez is fighting his next fight at 175. Benavidez was last seen tipsy and messed up. I love you there. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And he was man enough to apologize it. And all the enablers came out and said, don't apologize. You're a grown man. You could drink. No, he knew the seriousness to what he had done by showing up in public like that when he's becoming one of the faces of boxing, who is set to, no matter how much Canelo talks, at some point probably land the biggest fight in boxing. So if Canelo was fighting him in 2 weeks, I think David would win the fight. But he's not. And he's going to 75 and going back down to 68. And Canelo seeing the drinking and stuff, it gives the aging champion the edge and the life he needs to get the job done. So now if they fight in September and November, he might lose where I otherwise would have picked him to win because of the weight, because of seeing him be in South Florida. Brendan, again, I told you, so smart. Brendan calls me. Your boy's in Miami, right? And I go, oh no, and because we knew what the implications of that would very well lead to. Sure enough, next time I see David at the Hitchens fight, he's messed up, and that fucked me up because I believe in David and I believe
he really does. By the way, guys, me and Sean have debated years about Benavidez.
I told you he beat Andre. my boogeyman beat your boogeyman. I'm sorry, but I because I believe in what he brings to the game, which is being elite and exciting. You know what I mean? Like, he's a guy that could carry a pay-per-view torch and give you your fucking money's worth on a consistent basis and actually be good enough to usually win. Yeah, maybe you know, you're going to lose a fight at some point if you fight the best on pay-per-view continuously. But I think he can beat a lot of these guys, especially the 5'9", aging, you know, great, all-time great Canelo. I think he was going to beat him in a couple weeks. But now Canelo is getting a good tune-up in Munguia. Munguia is a good tune-up for David. And look, I feel like they boxed David in a little bit. Like, at the end of the day, they could always say he could have fought Morrell and stayed at 68. That's on him. But you know he doesn't want to take that fight. You know Morrell is huge risk, low reward. He doesn't actually bring anything to the table yet except a possible L because he's so talented and so good 10 fights in. And realistically, bro, Benavidez Morrell deserves to be a legit pay-per-view, not a rush job. So it's like you offered him that fight. You don't got no other fights at 68. Can't make a Christian Mabili. Can't do. That's it, huh? It's either David Morrell or go to 75. That to me feels like y'all set him up to go to 75 so that Canelo could get what he wants as the A side. You want me to do this fucking Benavidez fight so bad? Treat me right, man. Give me the Sugar Ray Leonard, Floyd Mayweather, Oscar De La Hoya. You know, put something that tips the scales in my favor so I'll fight this young killer.
Correct. And, give him that advantage.
And I feel like, you know, that's me doing my conspiracy theory, but I do kind of feel like that was the real point of giving him only two options. Morrell at 68, meant to be turned down, or Vosdick at 75, go up, go back down for a guy who already is super big for the weight and probably should be a light heavyweight by now anyways. And if your plan is David, and no, I'm not going to let them do that to me. I'm going to stay at 75, right? Well, good luck actually making a fight with those guys who are fighting in Saudi Arabia and have a rematch clause. And you know what I mean? What are you going to do? He already said his contract won't let him go to Saudi. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, Bivol's out the question. So
you're going to make the winner of the undisputed light heavyweight championship fight take a discount and fight you in America?
That's not happening.
He's being set up to fight Canelo later this year, in my opinion. And now the scales have been tipped a little bit to help Canelo's chances. That to me is the real what's gone on behind closed doors with, you know, the people running the show. Could be wrong.
And on top of you,
be a Benavidez fan.
Or you know, Canelo always has that Edgar Berlanga fight out his back pocket.
Yeah.
You know, Mexico, Puerto Rico. That's an easier fight. It's not going to take as much damage. Won't be as hard. It's more winnable.
Still dust Jamal Charlewall.
Yeah. yeah. You know, Charlo's a champion. You know, I've been waiting for him to say that.
He's undefeated.
Never lost. You know, he's that
division
guy.
Champ. Knows how to sell a fight.
He does. Sean, Jairo says that Eddie Hearn signs Americans, but he doesn't understand us.
I love how Jairo is a British person saying us because he identifies as American. No,
that's not Jairo. That's Shakur. You're thinking of Shakur.
Oh, Shakur. My bad, Jairo.
I was actually American, but
my bad. I'm thinking of Shakur. Your boy Shakur. Yeah. So Brennan talked about it already, and Eddie's got a decision to make. It's like, I ate a lot of money on a bunch of bullshit fights early in DAZN's tenure. Maybe I should eat a lot of money for a really good fight and Jerron Ennis and Crawford. But BT, the issue is Ennis might not win, and if he does win, that doesn't mean he's going to be a star. That could be Sugar Shane Mosley beating Oscar De La Hoya, and you're fighting Antonio Diaz in front of like 4,000 people in your next fight, anyways.
Or Bivol beating Canelo.
Right? Just because, and so that's the issue. So then Plan B is like kind of a glorified version of what happened with Andrade and Haney, which isn't the worst thing in the world. The fighter gets paid, he gets some hardware. Like it's not a horrible thing. But Andrade and Haney wound up winning the WBO for Andrade, the WBC for Devin. Devin wound up fighting better names than Andrade got, you know, guys that we know, JoJo and Gamboa and Linares. But ultimately, like it didn't get what Eddie, of course, really wants out of it, a real American star. Devin had to say peace and went and got big fights with Top Rank. And then he came back and got Regis and said peace again to go get Ryan. And, you know, Boo Boo wound up having his biggest fight on PBC. So he's in danger of that happening again if he can't find a way to really move the needle and make Boots a real star. He's in danger of moving him to 54, getting the WBA off Madrimov, getting the IBF off the Russian champ, and then Boots being like, thanks for these 2 belts. I'm going to try and like make a big fight again.
Yeah.
Al Haymon. Bye.
PBC and Al Haymon.
Yeah. So he gotta, yeah.
So it'll be intriguing to see how he handles all of it.
And I'm happy that Eddie got Boots. He needed him. I do feel like Eddie's heart is in the right place with boxing. Like he's here because he loves it, not because he needs it. So hopefully he's learned some good, valuable lessons from the Haney and Andrade experiences, and he's really ready to move the needle for Boots.
Well, we saw Eddie Hearn at the Hitchens fight, man. He looked very disengaged during the fights. Like he was on his phone a lot. He was staring at his phone, like staring at the ground, and
not when we were in front of him with cameras. He knows.
No, he knows. I'm talking about like when the fights were going on. A lot of times you see him looking down at his phone, and he wasn't all the way there. Because it's like I'm gonna paraphrase what you said, but it's like this isn't what he wanted. This isn't what he envisioned when he came to America, being at the Fontainebleau, which is on not the nicest part of Vegas. And he's got his guys Hitchens and Pacheco, who are good fighters, but not creme de la creme.
Foundational pieces.
Needle moving type of fighters, franchise fighters.
Yeah. No, those are guys you want to, have on the extra part of your roster, and you want your foundational pieces. His foundational pieces right now are Andy Cruz and Boots.
Yeah.
He's going to have to find. But yeah, that's what we were saying. Like, Eddie's plan was to conquer America, not be having Pacheco and Hitchens on a doubleheader in front of 1,500 people. You know what I mean? So we sensed from him, he needed something to happen to change his momentum, and then Boots came. So
yeah, so we'll see how it goes. But shout out to all 102 of you here. We got Sean Zittel rocking with us. Still a couple things I want to ask you, Sean. What about Beterbiev Bivol? I know Beterbiev Bivol is like to me, it's like the most significant fight in boxing this year, bro. What do you think about that fight overall?
It's a true like 50-50 fight, and I tweeted about it. I said my head says Bivol. Like, come on, the younger guy, better jab, fresher feet, has that huge shock absorber neck to be able to absorb the power when he needs to win this fight over 12 rounds, right? The logical. But then my heart, my gut, which, our hearts and guts tend to be a little more dramatic than our heads sometimes, says no, Beterbiev digs a little bit deeper in his fights. He exhausts himself a little bit more. He takes it to a 5th and 6th gear, right? He digs a little deeper, and he'll make it in the second half of the fight. He'll make it a fight, and the fight will break out, not the boxing match that Bivol will have the better of early. And once it becomes a fight, there's 2 Russian monsters, giving their best. Beterbiev will get the better of that exchange. And then in that Lyndon Arthur fight, please tell me you saw it in the 6th or 7th. He dominated Lyndon Arthur, right? Everyone talked about how boring it was. I thought he looked very fast and threw some nice combinations. Mm-hmm. Lyndon Arthur got him with a right hand to the body. Midway.
I remember that.
And Bivol didn't throw punches for 30 seconds after. And it just so, and I wondered if that, God gives us foreshadowing sometimes. It's whether you realize it or not. And I wondered in that moment, was that a little bit of foreshadowing of how Beterbiev will get to him? Because, Beterbiev has that rarely thrown, and he's very good at it, mid-range, kind of straight right hand to the body, right underneath the elbow. And he could turn it, and he could throw it at a couple of different angles. But he throws a really good usually the great body work is what, the hook to the body, the uppercut, something, or
power jabs to the stomach,
Mayweather stab to the body, right? The Andre Ward, Floyd Mayweather, Caleb Plant against Benavidez, stab to the body. This man, Arthur Beterbiev, just so happens to throw that punch that Lyndon Arthur, the only good punch he landed basically the whole fight. He just so happens to throw that punch as good as anybody in boxing. So. And I think Bivol gets to a 3rd and 4th gear, but I think as fights go on, Beterbiev turns it up to like a 5th and 6th gear.
I feel like Bivol, when he fights, I don't know what you think about this, but I feel like when he's fought like guys that are naturally like light heavyweights, he doesn't look as good as when he fights smaller guys coming up. Like, for example, like Pascal, smaller guy coming up, Canelo, smaller guy coming up. But the full-fledged guys, even if they're not like the highest rated light heavyweights, the guys like Craig Richards and Salamov,
Sullivan Barrera.
Sullivan
almost went the distance, but got knocked out in the last round.
Yeah.
But HBO was busy saying how pedestrian he was looking up until the knockout.
Yeah. He gets, I don't know what, like when it comes to fighting guys who are naturally 175, he doesn't light the world on fire. And everyone that's picking Bivol that doesn't quite understand Beterbiev's full skill set, they say, well, Beterbiev is the guy that comes forward and gets hit.
So when Beterbiev first came out the amateurs, you knew I loved Kovalev, right?
Yep.
I loved Kovalev's jab, his height, his right hand. And I remember Beterbiev came out and there was this stories about he beat Kovalev in the amateurs. And then I looked at tape of him. This was like 10 years ago. And I was like, oh no, keep Kovalev away from him. I knew what a problem he was. And then I went to his fight in Chicago when Jesse fought Delorme. And he fought Callum Johnson.
Yep.
He walked right into a right-handed Callum Johnson, who is a domestic British level fighter, put Arthur Beterbiev on his ass. And it took me a couple years to shake that out of my mind. I was like, oh, Beterbiev ain't all that. Like I saw him get dropped ringside in Chicago against Callum Johnson. Like he ain't all that. Canelo will beat him. That's what I was on.
I remember you saying that.
Comes forward. He just comes forward, and Canelo's this amazing counter puncher, and he's faster. And even though he's small, he's so strong. He'll be able to take what Beterbiev dishes out, slide, catch, and then run his hands and punch in between his punches. And then he fought Vazdik, who I picked against him, made me eat my words. Then when he fought Joe Smith, and he showed you, no. This is what I look like against a guy that can just come forward with power. That's actually Joe Smith. I'm Arthur Beterbiev. I'm way better than that. You know, I know how to take angles to cut the distance. I got footwork. I can fight off the back foot.
It's a complete fighter.
Yeah, I'm elite. I'm elite. And if I beat Dimitri Bivol, I'm one of the greatest light heavyweights of all time. Ask Lonnie B.
Yes. Shout out to Lonnie B.
So I had my little valley with Beterbiev after seeing him in Chicago get dropped, and now I'm back on the Arthur Beterbiev's a great fighter, and I feel like I kind of went through something similar. Although I would say I came back to the Beterbiev train a little earlier. I would say like maybe when he fought Marcus Brown on that fight, I started saying, you know what, okay, this guy, his jab, man, like his power jab, I feel doesn't get talked about enough. It's one of the best in the business. You saw the last fight of Callum Smith. He was just boxing patiently behind the power jab before he stopped him in the 7th round. Yeah. And that power jab, I feel, is going to offset a lot of the movement and the pendulum stepping and the footwork of that Bivol likes to use on his opponents. He's going to start trading jabs with him, jabbing with the jabber, having more success with it as the fight goes on after initially being out jabbed by the busier, younger Bivol. And you're saying eventually when they start trading jabs, that shit's going to start hurting Bivol. Because his jab is like his jab is like a straight right hand. It's a sledgehammer, Right. So we'll see how it goes, but it's a great fight. We got a couple questions for you, Sean, in the super chats or statements, I guess. David Esser says, I think Benavidez and Morel are ducking Ulises Iglesias. Oh, the guy that beat that Cuban. I forgot who he beat. Who did that guy beat? You probably don't even know who that is, Sean, do you? I don't know who that is.
Chat, who did Ulises Iglesias beat? I don't know a ton about him. I've heard his name.
I'm gonna. Don't worry.
He's one of the how you say the hipsters. That's a hipster fighter.
Let's see.
Hiram wants to know from you, Sean, why don't Saudi cards feel special if they're making big fights? What's that?
This is who he asked about.
No.
So he's talking about. Good singer. Do I think he could beat David Benavidez and Dave? No. He's a good singer though.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. Hyra says, why don't Saudi cards feel special after making the big fights? I mean, Eddie doesn't understand the USA market. You missed a couple super chats, man. I'll go back to him, but
because it's just a sports washing thing. Like it's this is fucked up. All right, you know what?
Look, we're gonna go on the deep end.
America. I'm gonna have to stand on this, and I'm a little worried about that.
Yeah.
Okay, because Because it's not a business model that at all has to do with making a profit. It's a government shelling out tons of money, knowing they're not going to make a profit back because they want to elevate Saudi Arabia and Dubai, up there with Japan and the United States and the West, and so that this is a new era. And we got the money now, motherfucker. We will pay your athletes better than you could pay them, and they'll fight in our country because we're trying to prove a point to the rest of the world that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia can compete economically and culturally with the West, with Japan, with any of you motherfuckers. And, we're here and, get down or lay down. And
that's it.
I ultimately think that will run its course because usually the true business model that has to sustain is the one based in reality, rooted in foundation. It has a product that's so good that the people making it turn a profit. So, I think this Saudi run will have its run, will run its course. And, a big reason, it's really just the interest in the whims of a couple of really rich guys that like boxing. Like there isn't this foundation of love and passion in the Middle East of boxing. They don't have some great amateur program.
They still don't.
That doesn't mean there aren't millions of people in the Middle East that love boxing. Of course there are. But yeah, it's yeah.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think. Basically sports washing, that's why it doesn't feel that great. That's why it doesn't feel like Michael Jordan in the 1996 finals.
It doesn't have the NBA or NBC theme song and
magic,
feel to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just it's a couple of rich guys playing with fighters like they're toys. And that's why, that's why Turkey Al-Sheikh, I almost really I didn't finish. I will never call that man that. I was saying it facetiously, but just the fact that I almost said it makes
you almost said it, man.
Turkey Al-Sheikh. That's why he poses with these men like they're his action figures. It stands behind. He's got Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren sign a contract, and he's just like, yeah, that's right. I own these motherfuckers now. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Hopefully, we'll see how Saudi plays out. You mentioned them being action figures. Do you think maybe that's why they have these extravagant Street Fighter posters and?
Okay, so here's the thing. Here's my contention with it, right?
Go ahead.
Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, the guy who is the big dumb dada of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the Turkey's boss, right? He says, this is what he says, Brendan. He says something like, we're not the next Europe, we're the new Europe. He's like, oh, Maron, what do you mean you got to be the new Europe, the new America? Do your own thing. Do your own thing. Make your own. Be the first Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. What are you talking about? You want to replace Europe and America and all this? What's all this animus, all this resentment? You can't use all the culture of the West and then hate it and berate it and try to replace it. That's not right. You got to build your own. Do your own thing. Anyway, what I'm saying is he talked about, from their general principles, in their Islamic fundamentalism, that they disagree with what the West is. It's capitalist nation, allowing homosexuality and all the things that America, they don't like that about the United States and they criticize it, right?
Yeah.
But you still want to drink from that cup. You want to use our athletes. You want to market and you want to have casinos like it's Las Vegas. But then at the other side of their mouth, I'm sure, condemn the United States for such things, right? As they go against Islam and everything. So I look at them as you're not really a true adherence to Islamic fundamental. You're not really like Iran or Pakistan or Afghanistan, these countries that have been kept out of the economic pot by the West and have really been oppressed by them. No, you're both in bed with the West, with the oil money and dealing with Israel, the United States and all that. And at the same time, criticizing them and wanting to replace them. So you're in the middle. You're not really, they have beef with Iran and some of the true Islamic fundamentalist countries, right? But they also want to be Westernized. So it's you're not really Westernized. You don't really have the freedom and the beliefs of the West, and you don't really adhere to the fundamentalism of the other countries that are being oppressed by the West. So it's kind of
It'll run its course, you feel, pretty much.
Yeah. And I'm making a deeper point there about other stuff. These people are gonna fuck me up if they promote a fight in America. I hope you guys enjoy this because
you're going off the deep end, man. I can't go to fight in Saudi anymore, so
sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. But shout out to everybody here. The last thing I'll ask you, Sean, and I know this has been a big thing. This fighter has been a part of your history for the good or the bad. Naoya Inoue, he's fighting
the great Naoya Inoue.
The great Naoya Inoue, the monster,
yes.
One of the best fighters in the world.
Yes.
He's fighting Luis Neri. I'm sure you believe he's going to win the fight,
yes.
right? Because he should beat Neri.
Yeah.
What do you think about him at featherweight?
I like the Bruce Carrington fight. Not right now. Bruce isn't ready. But I like I think let Carrington get the WBO, which is inevitable, being the top rank, being really good. He'll get the WBO probably in like 12 months. And then give him another 12 months after that to get his feet steady at that level. And I think 2026, Madison Square Garden, June, something like that. Let him have his Prince Nassim Kevin Kelly fight. Let him fight Carrington in the Garden and fight a New Yorker in New York. And let's see how that goes, And, man, Inoue brings in so much money right now that, like Leonard Ellerby can't help but talk about it sometimes in relation to Tank. I think they would love to make that fight.
Tank Davis versus Naoya Inoue.
Yeah, but that's not very fair to Inoue. He should. Tank should have to fight a guy at 140 before Inoue, who started at 108, has to fight a guy at 130. Like, it's just ridiculous. But I think he beats Nettie, and at featherweight, I still think he beats everybody except Raymond Ford would be really tough. But Raymond Ford's going to 130. So yeah, and Raymond Ford's going to be even better at 130 because he looked huge at featherweight towards the end. So he's going to be even better at 130. I think he would take care of everyone at 26. I love the Carrington fight 2 years from now because Carrington, with that athleticism and fun style, great pull counters in the pocket, I would like to see that. But outside of Bruce 2 years from now, like I think Venado, he'll take care of him. And I think
Espinoza.
Say again?
What about Espinoza?
He's very tall, but big, tall abdomen. And I think Inoue would kill his body and would take care of him too. So, the really, really tough fights where he could lose would be at 30 against Raymond Ford and maybe Oshaki Foster too, But why would he jump up 2 weight classes to fight Raymond Ford or Oshaki Foster? Like, it's not required of him, and it's not a big fight.
Yeah, there's no point. Those guys don't bring in the money, and he can stay in Japan. I mean, he can stay in Japan and still rake in $20 million, $30 million gates and sell out baseball stadiums. So
he's going to fight in America again. Like, he has not fought his last fight in America. He'll be here.
So you think it'll be against Shushu?
Yeah.
Okay, Shushu.
If he wanted to, he could fight the Mexican champions, Venado at 26, and it could sell some tickets in Vegas and Cali, but it would still make so much more money in Japan. And fighting Carrington would probably still make more money in Japan. But there's an angle there. You're fighting an undefeated American champion from New York in Madison Square Garden. I think that would be enough to make it worth his time. And it's a style that should be fun to fight against. It's a guy who wants to stay in the pocket.
And trade.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know it's going to sound funny coming from me because, I'm cool with the guy. But, I think one of the guys that will emerge as an opponent for Inoue is Angelo Leo. Yeah, I think so.
He's got to get a belt.
He's got to get a belt. So you saw the video. I know you saw the video. He'll probably fight Venado Lopez next. So he'll have to win that fight. Yeah, I'm sure he'll probably come in as a bit of an underdog in that fight. But
he definitely will, Brendan.
Yeah.
Because Venado, with that ranginess and movement and athleticism, we know Angelo could get busy on the inside, but is he going to get caught too much trying to cut distance in the high guard? Because Venado's going to find a way around that high guard. For your boy Angelo Leo to win this fight, I love you, Angelo. You got to summon that spirit you did for Tremaine Williams. I saw him in the gym, and I knew he wouldn't be denied for that fight. If he had fought Fulton as originally planned, that'd have been definitely a more competitive fight than it was when they did fight. And I'm not saying Angelo, because I know from you that he trains his ass off and he loves boxing on a deep level, like loves watching it, loves doing it. Whatever he can do to summon what he brought out for his first title fight a couple years ago, if he can be that guy again, then he can upset Venado. But
yeah,
he does got to take it up a notch from where he was on the Pro Box fight.
I think so too. And he said the same thing after the fight. He knows he could do better. It's a good win, but yeah, he knows he's got to do better, and I think he will. And hopefully, Top Rank and the fine folks there get the Venado fight over the line, because I think it'd be a great fight for the division from an excitement standpoint.
Angelo's got to come like a bat out of hell. He's got to come smoking like Joe Frazier. Like, I'm serious. He needs
to summon the spirit of like Johnny Tapia. He's from New Mexico, so Johnny Tapia.
New Mexico, stand up, right? He's got to have that, like, I'm not fucking, it's corny as it sounds, because it's a sweet science. It comes down to distance and angles and the sweet science. But I know I've seen him do it before. Go to a place, 90% of this game is mental, right? So if Angelo summons that spirit he did for that first title fight, that kind of ambition and hunger and determination, he can do it. So,
yeah,
and I'm rooting for him because that's our boy.
That's our boy. He loves boxing. He's basically one of us, just fighting. He's a big boxing fan. So
that's what I loved about David.
Yeah,
Benavidez. He's the same way.
Yeah, I think I heard David say in an interview one time he watches 1 hour of boxing every single day, no matter what.
Loves boxing. That's something I vibe with him about. He told me when I visited him in Big Bear in 2017, bro, if I wasn't fighting, I'd be doing what you're doing.
That's what he told you? He'd be a reporter?
Yeah. I would be covering boxing, So
it's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We'll see how it goes, man. But
he wasn't always the chiseled jaw Mark Anthony. Okay, he was one of us once too. No,
he was once a fat kid who just loved boxing at one point.
Right.
Yeah. Well, man, Hyro says, "Yo, BT, can you read the past super chat?" And he wants to know from you, Sean, is a degree worth it? And do you believe PBC is finished because fighters are leaving? Have we seen the last of Al Heyman?
No. When the quotes came out from the article with Amazon Prime that they had a multiple year deal with multiple cards, that signals that they're good to go. But I do get it. They've only had one card this year. And the second card they're having with Munguia, they had to go get another promoter in on it, which isn't a part of their original plan. Their plan is to have so much talent and be so self-sufficient, they don't have to reach out to other promoters. But their in-house fight wouldn't sell enough to really meet Canelo's demands, probably. A second fight with Charlo or something. So they wanted to make Canelo. He didn't want to do that. So you got to find a fight that can still make money besides Benavidez. So they had to reach out to Zanfer and Golden Boy for Munguia. So I get it. Like, their first card didn't blow the doors off. It was a really great card, but the pay-per-view numbers never came out, which means they weren't that great. And, now the second card they're having, it's not the fight. People wanted they want PBC to deliver Benavidez Canelo, not Canelo Munguia. And this card they put together, they needed another promoter to do it. So I understand your speculation, but no, I don't think they're going anywhere. As much as, we'll criticize PBC and Al, they're still beating everybody else for they did so.
Even the Saudis?
Yeah, them too. Yeah,
people will say the Saudis.
Inoue and Tyson Fury do like 40,000 pay-per-view buys. I don't even like talking about that shit, but
we were depressed for like a whole two months over that. Inoue and Fury. Boxing was over.
I get it though. Despite that article confirming multiple cards and all, well, where is it? And they're not transparent about any information. In the NFL and the NBA, when they re-up with CBS, 10 years, $750 billion. Like, they are transparent with the public about what these agreements mean. There's been zero information from PBC. So of course people are going to speculate like what the fuck is going on with them, So yeah, we don't know an exact year. We don't know. They said 12 to 14 cards, but we're certainly not on pace to get there this year with that, or,
No.
So it remains to be seen. But I will say again that the fact that an Amazon chief got quoted in an article saying they have multiple years and multiple cards, it's like, okay, they got something cooking at Amazon.
Yeah, and supposedly there's talks of PBC getting a second network.
We'll see.
We'll see how it goes. But Sean, man, it's been about an hour, so I know you got to get some rest for the your coverage tomorrow for the fights. But before I let you go, man, is there any message you want to give to the boxing world about, you know, your channel, boxing, or just anything in general?
No, man, just continue to support me and Brendan. We're like the fighters. We're not going to win every round. You know, we'll probably pick some fights wrong here or there. Not every take will age well. I'd like to think most of them will, as long as we study and are fair and
don't be lazy.
Right. I'd like to think we could call a lot of stuff right. That's why you would want to listen to us, because hopefully we could really glean some insight. But yeah, man, support me and Brendan. We might not win every single round, but we're going to try our best. And yeah, that's about it, man.
Yeah, we're definitely
good of you.
Huh?
Shout out to all the people who showed up tonight.
Yeah, shout out to everybody that showed up, and we'll definitely continue to deliver you guys some of the best interviews in boxing. So definitely check out Sean's content tomorrow from the fights. Check out his channel, just like his name, Sean Zittel. And it was a great way to end the 90 days, Sean. It was
you see how my name was? I'm the greatest MC in the world.
Are you gonna play a song?
Can I do it or no?
No, don't play a song, bro.
Copyright? You trying to make money off this?
Yeah, bro. I got some super chats.
They at least know. You know, remember the reference though from Ego Trip from De La?
Yeah.
I'm the greatest MC in the world.
Yeah.
You better give me mine. Some heavy when I weigh it. Watch the way I say it. Ego Trip. Sometimes we ego trip, Brendan.
We do. We definitely do. But Sean, look, it was a pleasure. We'll definitely do it again. Maybe I'll go to your channel one of these days whenever you want to have me.
We gotta do Throwback Thursdays together. We gotta call an old fight together.
Okay, but before we go, what fight do you want to call together? Like let the viewers know what fight.
Maybe Leonard Hearns.
Leonard Hearns? Okay.
The greatest fight of them all. In terms of high level, high speed chess.
Two dudes at the peak of their powers in their prime.
In terms of mixing action with elite level skill, that might be the pound for pound top dog.
Yeah.
But
okay. Leonard Hearns.
Hearns one, or let me think of another. Oh, I got a fun one. Tyson Holyfield 1 and 2.
Okay. You know what Holyfield guys, so that makes sense.
Yeah, you're a Holyfield, exactly. So we could do Tyson Holyfield and Bo Holyfield. We could do the Holyfield fights. I'd be honored to call them with a true Holyfield guy in itself.
There you go. All right, Sean. Well, thank you so much, man. It was a pleasure, guys. This has been the conclusion of 90 Days of Boxing with me and Sean Zittel. Thank you guys, and I'll see you guys Saturday for Haney and Ryan. Take care.
Bye.